Ink-a-dink, 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 ink-a-dink. Wow! Yeah, go on. Wow. Wow. All right, a blessed Sunday morning to you. Welcome back to Basil BuddhaCat Presents! Exclamation point. And we're going to start continue putting Basil's inside studio back together. Now, it's going to have a studio down on the pond at some point. And we know that because his granite tabletop and stand for that got rolled down the hill to the pond. They're not in the pond. They're fortuitously happen to be leaning right against a tree down there, and they're safe. And they ended up down there because somehow or other, good friend Mark Morash, who helped us move, we couldn't get it up the driveway. So we figured we had to do something with it. So we figured that's going to be a good spot as any for sitting down by our pond and our waterfront, and maybe even eventually get a boat, because Basil's quite the able seaman, and he's got yeah, I know it's Sunday morning, but no, I'll let him say it first. He said, yeah, I'm quite the able seaman, and I've got 3,112 children to show for it. So, what are we going to do here? We're going to continue, I know. Wait a second. Let's do this. We're going to see if we can get away with putting a hat on Basil that no doubt some people are going to be able to identify. It may actually even stay on. Or may not. Okay. Well, the manages and manages, not. So, if Basil falls off the table because of the weight of that hat, no harm, no foul, because it's a short fall to the chair behind him. Okay. So, Friday night we were talking about some of the shows that we've done over the years. And of course, Jon Stewart and Bill O'Reilly, Basil's working on getting them together again to have some real good discussion topics. And let's see. Okay. Okay, oh, clip art. Wow. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we haven't found that yet, but somewhere around here we've got Basil's Romper Room. Well, we can't say Romper Room because that's copyrighted, but we can. Well, we can identify it as being Basil's Romper Room mirror. And okay, so we're in. You know, if you remember the old Romper Room show, which you shouldn't, because if you do, then you'll know we're stealing an idea from somebody. But the gal in Romper Room had a mirror, and she'd hold the mirror up, and she'd be supposedly looking through the mirror right out of the studio, right out in through your TV set. And I guess she was the precursor of the internet spying on people. And she could look right out through that mirror, and she could see. And she'd say, "Oh, I see Billy out there. I see Jane out there. I see Joey out there. I see Andy out there. I see Susie out there." And now that was back in the 50s. So she never had any reach outs where she would call out and she would say, "Oh, I see Jose out there," or "Oh, I see Eduardo out there," or "I see Jinping out there," or never any waspy sounding names ever. But so Basil's going to make up for that. Basil's going to use Basil's Romper Room mirror to reach out. Now while we were moving, we've been celebrating all the Cincos. Of course, we made sure we got Cinco de Marzo and Cinco de Abril as a precursor to Cinco de Mayo. And of course we got Cinco de Junio y Cinco de Julio. And then we missed Cinco de Agosto. But we'll be moving along back into the Cincos again, I'm sure, for Cinco de Septiembre. So just something for you to look forward to. Okay. Ooh. Oh yeah, we've done a lot of sports. Yeah. And now we're hot in the middle of the baseball season. So Basil's been watching two guys, and we're going to call them Christmas Past and Christmas Future. Or Christmas Past and Present, or Christmas Future and Present, a little bit of overlapping. Because Basil's been following a guy that plays for the Los Angeles Angels, the Anaheim Angels. What's his name? He's had such a year this year, in the twilight of his career, that we're kind of losing sight of him. And I guess we partly didn't help him out by making comparisons between him statistically and a fellow by the name of Alex Rodriguez, who's gone and got a very unceremonious exit from baseball because he had a bad reputation about having very possibly, slightest possibility. But there was some talk about him using steroids. They banned him for a year, even though there was no evidence of him actually using steroids. And so we've been following Albert Pujols, and he's been moving up. We categorize some different statistics, and amongst them, of course, home runs. Where at this date, Pujols is up to 608 home runs. He's one behind Sammy Sosa, who was another steroid baby. But Pujols apparently has been clean, but he's He's moved up. He's amongst, I think, the top 10 in home runs with 608 lifetime. He's RBIs, runs scored, total bases. He's very high on the list in those things. But there are things that we categorize that he hasn't been very good at over his career, or he's been good at, but he's not amongst the elite yet. Would be base hits and base hits and walks. They don't get too many walks, so that's a good opportunity for us to throw in a plug for the guys that were the great at getting on base for different reasons. Now Rickey Henderson was for many years he took over the most walks, most career walks, and there's a guy leading off that's the job with a leadoff hitter, is to get on base, and he did it very successfully for his career. Tremendous at getting on base, tremendous base stealer. So he was out there on second base a lot of the time in the first inning for his team, and gave his team a very good opportunity to score some runs and get a leg up in a baseball game he was playing in. Of course, Barry Bonds is now the leader in all-time walks, because he was so fearsome that quite often they'd walk him. They'd walk him in situations that normally you would never walk a player. Let's say the Giants are down by 2 runs and it's the bottom, their last at bat. They're down by 2 runs and the bases are loaded, and there's 2 outs. And you figure, well, most baseball players, you worry about them getting a hit, of course, because a hit ties the game. Single ties the game, double ties, or puts you ahead. But he was such a fearsome home run hitter that quite often they'd walk him with the bases loaded, intentionally pushing a run in order to pitch to anybody but Barry Bonds. So let's see. And of course, perhaps the greatest hitter of all time, not named Barry Bonds in terms of batting stance, because Barry Bonds had an amazing batting stance. His stance was so compact that it gave the pitcher very little strike zone to work with. But the other guy, Ted Williams, may be the best baseball player of all time, certainly in the category of Babe Ruth, certainly in the category of a lot of other great baseball players. Ted Williams was very high on the walks list, and the story with Ted Williams, you want to talk about baseball some more? All right, we'll talk about it some more. Because Basil says we're in the middle of the baseball season, so we're watching Albert Pujols as he sputters toward the finish line of his career. And although he had 2 home runs the other night, but ever since then I don't think he's had a hit in about 20 or 30 at bats. So he's in a real rough streak right now. Matter of fact, they pinch hit for him in the 9th inning of a game a couple days ago. That's how bad his hitting has been lately. So we're watching Albert Pujols, and we're watching a young guy named Aaron Judge for the New York Yankees, who was, I believe, up to 35 or 36 home runs for this year. He's already broken the Yankee rookie home run record, formerly held by a guy named Joe DiMaggio. And Aaron Judge he's lanky like DiMaggio. He's tall, he's strong, he's got a nice swing, and combination of a lot of good things. He's like DiMaggio. He's a great outfielder. He plays a stellar outfield, out in right field, and he's just a terrific all-around baseball player. And he's in his rookie year. He had played a little bit last year, not much, but a little. But he qualifies for Rookie of the Year this year, and I guess he's probably got a pretty good chance at that. Oh, Basil said. Dad, take that Mickey Mouse hat off, please. Okay. There, how's that? Well, you know what? You got a quail feather, you've got an underlayment peacock feather. I don't see any iridescent peacock feathers around here. I don't see any down here. Wow. It's gonna be, we'll have to get some for you. I know we've got some upstairs, so we'll bring a couple of them down from upstairs. Or you'll bring them down because, of course, you go up every night because you're the one who actually owns this house and is kind enough to allow Kristen and I to live here as long as we don't misbehave. Okay, so Aaron Judge, yada yada, you know, looks like a good prospect for future years. Oh, okay. Well, I don't see Basil. Now, we shouldn't talk about this being Sunday morning, but Basil, well, he's in charge. So Basil said, said, yep, that's right. So somewhere amongst our accoutrements for the show, we've got co-star or team player named Dick Van Dyke. And I'll say no more. Okay. Got Pavlov's cat somewhere around here. And we did a show, I'm going to say 3-4 years ago now, 3 years ago now, where we had a call in from Ringo's mom's cat. And shared with us a lot of good information about those mop top lads, Ringo in particular, who's ranked among the higher echelon of drummers all time in the history of music, and he's very highly regarded, and we had never thought of it that way. But we went back and listened to some of the old Beatles songs and some of the songs that Ringo Starr did before he became a Beatle, and some of the songs he did since the Beatles broke up, which seems like about 1 million years ago because it's about 1 million years ago. But so we had Ringo's mom's cat on for a couple shows, and you know, we've had a lot of cats on that belong to fairly well-known personalities. My favorite, I think, was Chief Justice John Roberts' cat, who snuck away from Chief Justice John Roberts' home when right after the vote came down on the Affordable Care Act, and John Roberts cast a deciding vote to keep the Affordable Care Act in place. I mean, they made part of it, they knocked down the part about states having to be part of the to opt into Medicare, but essentially John Roberts' vote kept the Affordable Care Act in place, which it didn't go over too well with folks that were very happy when George W. Bush named John Roberts to the Supreme Court, and then immediately, about 5 minutes later, made him Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and they thought they had their guy. And like many Supreme Court justices, he's been kind of a mixed bag in how he's voted. Now, we knew he'd be corporate. We knew he'd be very much on the side of corporate America, and that's perhaps the greatest damage he can do to America. But so we had Chief Justice John Roberts' cat on, and he explained, because he had overheard. Now, much to the chagrin of Chief Justice John Roberts, who apparently saw us via satellite while he was in Europe doing a speaking tour right after the vote, but he called in and threatened his cat, and because the cat had been watched over, was being taken care of by a little neighbor boy named Willie Culpepper, and snuck away. And so here's Justice John Roberts really literally yelling at his cat over the phone and threatening to have him taken back home in a gunny sack hanging from the roof of the cargo portion of a jet. Really bound and tied. But we know he's okay because we talk to him periodically. We know he ended up back home, and I guess all is forgiven. Roberts needed to have the story told anyway. But you have to go back and watch that if you want to know why he voted the way he did, because it's out there. It's on Basil's website, of course, Basil BuddhaCat, on Facebook. It's on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and put in Basil BuddhaCat, John Roberts, you're bound to see those two shows come up. Now back to politics. Spent a lot of time early on, and this is a precursor to what we have going on now, apparently. But there were a couple of far right-wing websites. One of them was Political Outcast, and the other one was Godfather Politics. And we ragged on them quite a bit. But what we didn't do... Oh, you want me in the picture? Okay, hold on. If we're going to do that, then I got to do a little calculation here. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll come in the picture. Ouch. Man. Well heated, it's the best. Unless you bang your head on a pipe. Okay. Okay, I'm coming. I'm coming. Okay. 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 Sorry, Joe. Perhaps I ought to leave Joe lying down so he doesn't fall off the table. I'll put him right there. Okay. Okay, so again, welcome to Basil BuddhaCat Presents. I'm David Stevenson. I'm Basil's interpreter. His co-host is interpreter and his chief gopher, and you can see that I've been doing some gophering today and last not Friday night. So Basil does a lot of other sports. Okay, he wants me to mention right? Okay. Right, Basil? Hold on. What's that? Okay. Sports, right? A little bit more sports? Okay, Basil said. Yeah. Oh, it's going to add something else. So he wants me to talk about the national, well, they call it the National Collegiate Athletic Association basketball tournament. That's the NCAA. But last year, we had a little different interpretation of NCAA, and that was no cats around anymore, because before you got too far into the tournament, all of a sudden you had some pretty highly regarded teams. You had a #1 ranked team of the four regions. Villanova Wildcats, gone. Arizona Wildcats, gone. Kentucky Wildcats, gone. And instead, you had some animals that weren't cats, which didn't make Basil very happy. But so he renamed it from National Collegiate Athletic Association to No Cats Around Anymore. And who came down to the final teams? Well, amongst the final teams, you had the Gonzaga Bulldogs. You had the Oregon Ducks. You had the South Carolina Gamecock, or Cocks. You had the Stanford Cardinal, singular. Well, maybe that was in the women's side. Well, at any rate, the men's side and the women's side, you had no. They just ran out of cats. And of course, the ever popular North Carolina Tarlungs. I think that's, yeah. So all Basil's picks, of course, because he likes to pick the cats, they all pretty much got knocked out. And the one dog that he picked, the one dog-related team that he picked on the women's side, the Yukon Huskies, they riding it seemed like about a 3,000 game winning streak. They hadn't lost during the entire century so far. They faced a team, South Carolina Gamecocks, or the lady Gamecocks, figure that one out, in the semifinals for the women's tournament. And this is a team that UConn beat during the regular season by 40 or 50 points. They came in and the Gamecocks came out smoking, and UConn did not. And before you knew it, the Gamecocks were up by 10, 15 points, held on up by a little bit. The lead started to get dwindled, and you just knew that the Huskies were so much of a better team than anybody that they'd come back and they'd win it. Came down the home stretch. The Huskies had a chance to win it. They were up by 2. South Carolina down to a very short amount of time. Got an amazing shot off. Made it, tied, overtime. And then, in overtime, UConn, they're tied and UConn has the ball. They could run the clock down, they could take the last shot. And the strategy they tried, which is a pretty good strategy, was to surprise them, not hold the ball for a late shot. Wanted to get a quick shot off, score an easy basket, put the pressure on South Carolina. Great defensive play. They didn't score. South Carolina came down, scored, and that was it. The winning streak ended. And of course the Gamecocks went on to be pretty bad in the finals by whoever beat them. But it was all for naught at that point anyway. Nothing mattered because. So at any rate, we're going to come back. We'll be back Friday night. I think we'll probably be a little bit better set up. And this has been Basil BuddhaCat Presents. I'm David Stevenson, Basil's co-host, interpreter-in-chief gopher. And lest I not forget to do it properly, Basil BuddhaCat Presents, exclamation point, and we shall see you Friday evening. God bless, have a great Sunday, and we'll see you Friday. Get out of here. Okay.
They say they'd rob your grandma blind on Wall Street, on Wall Street. Fritter her away her Medicare on Wall Street. And Pharma Oil and their pet fox don't care if she lives in a box, so long as they wear platinum jocks on Wall Street, on Wall Street. Meow.